Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. This next guest needs no introduction. We ought to let him introduce himself. I mean, he does such a great job of show introductions. I hadn't thought about anybody ever introducing themselves. But we'll save that for next week because Frank Barton will be in studio with us next week, as he has been for many, many years. He and Ron Wong are two of our, I started to say oldest co-hosts. I didn't mean it by that, in years. I don't know what I meant. But anyway, Frank Barton is back from Thomasville, Georgia for the Master Nationals National Championship down there, and with over 1,200 dogs. And Frank, first of all, good Saturday morning to you. Secondly,
good Saturday morning, Larry, and everyone out there.
Secondly, you've been to this for almost 20 years now. Compare the trip to Thomasville, which is where you actually got really involved, if I remember the story right, that you got into the sport itself. What was it like to have over 1,200 dogs in that, what we call the fertile grounds of retrievers?
Well, 20 years ago in 2003, when we were there, was my first Master National event. I'd been messing with retrievers for about 5 or 6 years prior to that, but that was my first national event to attend. There were 351 dogs.
351.
Wow.
Okay.
Year.
All right.
Wow.
How many were there this year?
1,220 were entered.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So there was the groups. We were divided up into two groups 20 years ago. We call them flights.
Yes, flights.
This year we were divided into 9.
9 groups, and your capacity with the club. What you're secretary, aren't you, or something like that?
The event secretary.
Which
correct.
means you have to keep track of all the dogs, the qualifiers, the ones that have entered, and everything like that. And then the actual show itself is such a big economic impact on that community. Was it one of the biggest as far as participation and also people coming to just watch?
Sure. From an AKC standpoint, it was the largest performance event in the history of the American Kennel Club.
Wow. And that's been around a while.
So that's, across the country.
Yeah.
For the people of Thomasville, they really enjoyed us being there.
I bet they did.
We went out. We always tried to, whenever we go to these events, I try and go out to eat at the local places, not a chain restaurant, but the local restaurants. And I always wear my, I call it wearing my colors, but wearing a shirt that's got Master National logo on it, and all that, so people know it. And no, the people of Thomasville knew we were there. We were getting comments on our Facebook page all throughout the event from the various businesses in Thomasville, letting us know, what their hours were going to be and what specials that they were offering for, people participating in the event. So it's really nice to go to a place like that because they know dogs in Thomasville. That's the only way I know how to put it.
Yeah,
Thomasville knows dogs.
Yes.
And whether it's a retrieving dog or a pointer dog, they know dogs, and they enjoyed us being there.
And it went off. You had some weather changes. I know that front roared through here last week, and then y'all got some chilly weather.
It was. I think it was the coldest we had. It was like 43 one morning.
Okay, we were colder than that.
A couple of mornings, it was in the low 40s.
Yeah,
and then it would warm up by mid-afternoon. It was quite pleasant, but we were all bundled up like teddy bears in the morning.
Well, that's pretty far south in Georgia. I mean,
and of course, and then that cold weather does, depending on your point of view, it really does wonderful things to dogs. That's not necessarily the best thing either.
No.
It jacks them up.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Gives them renewed energy that maybe you can't control sometimes. And so I know there were some great dogs that worked. I've got to ask you, Frank. I mean, it didn't work out as good for you. I mean,
unfortunately, there were 519 dogs that qualified at the event. They did not include my 2.
Oh, they didn't. Okay, all right. So what?
But that's okay. I mean, they were extremely difficult, challenging tests that you had to negotiate through, and sometimes every dog has its day, and not every day is a dog's day. So
and Frank, I would assume that based on their performance and everything, kind of helps you determine what you need to do to work with them over the next year too, right?
Oh, I've got a list of things.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some things that that I know that I need to address, and a good test will do that. It'll show you this is what you need to work on this.
And next year, where is it next year, Frank?
Paducah, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Not too far from
and
here.
You've been to Idaho. You've been to Oregon, right?
Been to Idaho, Oregon, Texas a couple of times.
And now Paducah.
Carolina,
has it been
Maryland?
Has it been to
Virginia,
Paducah? You're still reeling them out.
Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Has it been to Paducah before that you know of?
I've been to Paducah quite a few times.
Okay. Yeah. But that is a lot shorter drive for you, at least.
I got a Larry question.
What? All right.
Thomasville, Georgia. I don't think I've ever been there. Is that a fairly big town, little towns, or how do you classify that?
I don't know what the exact population of Thomasville is, but going around, I would say Thomasville would probably be
like a Jackson, Tennessee,
maybe Jackson, Tennessee size.
Yeah.
You have plenty of facilities and Walmarts and everything else.
But like Frank says, he goes to local places. And Frank, I have to tell you, anytime I travel, I do the same thing.
You do the same thing.
Absolutely. We all do.
Because that's good for their economy because they bid for these things. And I know that the locals really put because it takes, I don't know how many volunteers, Frank, to put on. I think that maybe the doctors said that a couple of weeks ago, how many volunteers you have out there. But
everybody that's participating in the event volunteers their time at some point. Even the professional dog trainers, some of which will have 30 dogs with them.
Okay.
30
dogs. I mean, there are trainers that bring 30 dogs. Is that right? Did you just say that?
That's on the high side, but
I guess,
I think that there were quite a few trainers that had in excess of 20 dogs.
Wow. Okay.
With them.
How did our poodle man do? Can I ask you?
I'm so glad you asked me that question.
Yes.
Jack Combs.
Yes.
And his dog, which is named Duxbury My 10 Cents, and the call name for the dog is Dime.
Okay. How did Dime do?
Became the first poodle ever to pass the event 3 different times.
Wow, way to go, Dime!
And I mean, it's in our Hall of Fame now. And to pass the event 3 times is a big deal.
That's right.
But to have a poodle pass the event, as I told Jack when he came off the line, and he was in tears. It was emotional. I was kind of choked up because I know how much work he'd made into it. He put into it.
Yes.
And I said, Jack, I said, you realize that this may be the only dog ever, only poodle ever in the
history
forever
of this
that will do this.
And we've been doing
you're
this.
The handler of it.
And we've been doing this how long? How long has this thing been going on?
This is 32 years.
What is the chance of? Can you see if we might get Jack on next week's show? Can you work on that for me, Frank, between now and then?
I can work on that.
Yes. Let's see if we can get Jack Combs on. He's been on the show before, folks. Now, visualize this. Now, these are retrieving dogs. Jack has poodles that does this. And as Frank just said, Dime is the poodle's call name. So, Frank, I'm giving you that assignment next week to get Jack Combs back on the show, because I think that'd be a great interview for our retriever people. And we have a lot of poodle lovers here, you know. But I guarantee you none of them are out retrieving anything, unless it might be the paper, but nobody gets the – well, I don't know. They might not be doing that. What?
And I've had the privilege of taking Jack and Dime duck hunting before.
I know it. I missed that. Yeah, you told me.
I can tell you, the dog is the real deal.
Oh, my goodness. Frank, we got to go now. Thank you, buddy. We'll see you in studio next week, Frank Barton, okay?
See you next week. I'll get Jack.
All right. Have a great weekend, Frank. Thank you. All right. Let's take a break. Let's wrap up this baby with our good friend Richard Hines. And Ron will take care of Richard for me as we come right back on Outdoors with Larry Ray.